Up the live stream. You're good to go.
Okay, well, welcome everyone. It is 7 o'clock on the dot, and I'd like to open up the 2061st City Council meeting with electronic attendance of the City of College Place. Clerk, will you take the roll call of City Council members, please?
We will. Councilmember Bobbitt.
Present.
Councilmember Cleveland.
Present.
Ooh. Your sound isn't working real well, Michael.
Really? Is this any better? Can you hear me?
No,
Yeah.
we can hear you.
We can hear you, but the sound's really
That's
robotic.
better. Yeah. It was breaking up.
My wife is on a video conference as well. That might be eating up some of her bandwidth.
Okay.
I'll see if I can maybe turning my video off will help. Does that improve things at all?
No,
Daniel.
Oh well.
make it better. With video, at least maybe we can read lips. All right. Councilmember Peterson.
Present.
Councilmember Nyhagen.
No.
Present.
Councilmember Selby.
Present.
Councilmember Sherman.
Present.
Councilmember Trope.
Present.
Okay, we also have City Administrator Mike Rizzatello, City Attorney Ree Colwell, our Finance Director Brian Carlton, Chief Troy Tamaris, and Regina Myers is also joining us for a presentation today as well.
All right,
We
welcome.
have a quorum.
Great, thank you. So will you all please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. Okay, let's see. Now's the time for invocation, and Councilmember Nyhagen would like to say a few words to get us started.
Yes, let us pray. Our dear Heavenly Father, we thank you that we can come together. Not really together, but we know that you're with us, and we ask that you would guide our meeting tonight and our mayor as she leads out. Father, and I ask a special prayer for all of those who are suffering from this terrible virus. Please be with them, Lord, and you're the master physician, and we put it in your hands. We give you our meeting tonight, and we praise you. In Jesus' name, we thank you. Amen.
Thank you, Councilmember Nyhagen. Okay, it is now time for public comment. Did anyone submit a comment or arrange to speak?
They did not.
Oh, okay. All right, so then let's move on to the consent agenda. It consists of approving the agenda for October 13th, 2020, approve the council minutes from September 22nd, 2020 meeting, approve council minutes from the October 6th, 2020 workshop, renew the jail contract. Are there any items the council would like to have removed from the current consent agenda at this time? Okay, seeing none, is there a motion?
So moved.
Great, thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second.
Great, thank you. All those in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. The motion is passed. Thank you. We're going to move on to presentations. The first presentation is a proclamation of our 2020 Arbor Day. All right. And I'm told I have to read the whole thing, so can you open that up for me, Lisa? Actually, I'll see if, yeah, you can.
Can you see it?
No, not yet. I still see the agenda screen. Okay, I can. There you go. Now I can see it. Perfect, thank you. All right, proclamation. Whereas Arbor Day was established in 1872 by J. Sterling Morton of Nebraska as a day set aside to plant trees, and whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world, and whereas trees can reduce erosion by wind and water, lower our heating and cooling cost, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas the addition of trees to the landscape has been shown to stimulate economic development. And whereas the city of College Place recognizes that trees and parks are important to enhance the beauty of our city, and actively encourages the planting and care of trees throughout the city. And now therefore, I, Norma L. Hernandez, Mayor of the City of College Place, Washington, do hereby proclaim October 13th, 2020, College Place Arbor Day. An appeal to the residents of College Place to celebrate Arbor Day and encourage everyone to tune into the Walla Walla County Rural Library District online story time during the month of October, as they will be showcasing stories about trees. I further encourage residents to plant and care for trees in College Place for the well-being of this and future generations. Given under my hand and seal as Mayor of the City of College Place, Washington, this 13th day of October, 2020. Thank you. I'm excited about planting trees. I missed not planting one this year. Okay, so next is Chief Tamaris will present September 2020 Yard of the Month.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. So the September Yard of the Month recipients are the Gurnett family. They reside at 29 Northeast C Street. Maria and Greg Gurnett have lived in their home for 10 years, and Greg, smart man, credits his wife for making the yard look so nice.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, they've done a great job.
What a walkway to the door.
Mm.
Absolutely. Okay, thank you. Well deserved. Now Regina Myers of Comprehensive Healthcare will give a presentation on proposed pre-charging diversion programs. Ms. Myers.
Thank you, Mayor. Hello, council members. This is my first time being able to present to you, so I'm excited for the opportunity, and I want to thank Chief Tamaris and Ree for setting it up for me and getting me connected. I just have a few minutes, so I wanted to give you some information on a recent grant funding opportunity that Comprehensive Healthcare is engaging in with our community partners. So it goes back to legislation that was started in 2019. Washington state legislators passed a grant opportunity called the Arrest and Jail Alternatives Fund. And they partnered with the Washington State Association of Sheriff and Police Chiefs and with the Law Enforcement Assisted Diversion Program from the National Support Bureau LEAD. And they were tasked with developing and implementing programs that are locally initiated and identifying those that are criminal justice involved individuals who have substance use disorders and other behavioral health needs, and trying to engage them in therapeutic interventions and other services that may be more appropriate. These interventions per the grant funding have to be based in experienced peer-reviewed research programs or credible promising practices. And they also had to have exemplified that prior to jail booking or while in custody. So we had to have some established history in providing services before we were awarded. Some of the primary objectives of this funding are to reduce arrests and time spent in custody, to increase utilization of all non-emergent community behavioral health services, to reduce utilization for our emergency services, our law enforcement, EMS, and emergency department, to increase the resilience and stability of our communities, and to reduce costs for the justice system in prosecuting these types of cases. So they went through this first round of funding in 2019, and they didn't have any representation from Eastern Washington. And so they renewed the bid this year in 2020, and Walla Walla applied, and we were awarded funding for launching a pre-arrest diversion program in our area. So our pre-arrest diversion program is working to integrate our local law enforcement agencies, our prosecutors' offices, and our behavioral health care agencies in harm reduction programming. We want to be able to provide to our community intensive services, case management, engagement and outreach services, illness management and recovery, which is an evidence-based practice, and low barrier access to emergency services, or to essential services, for the Walla Walla area. One of the things that's really important to our group is bringing services to individuals in our area that are non-coercive and trauma-informed. And those approaches will be central to the work that we provide to the people of our valley. We also want to support people where they are in their stage of readiness to change. What we know about people who are maybe committing low-level crimes and have unmet behavioral health care and substance use needs is that some of them are ready to engage in programming, and some of them really want to make changes, and some of them are not yet aware or ready to engage in those changes. And so our program will work with people no matter where they are in that stage of change process. If they're not sure if they really want to commit to getting into treatment and getting help, we'll still help them along that pathway and encourage them to get the support that might be appropriate for them. Overall, our plan is to, again, reduce harm from unmet behavioral health care needs for individuals in our area. As a community, we know that it's important as well to sustain the goal of improving public safety and reducing unnecessary justice system involvement for these individuals. So we have set up two primary means of referral so far in our planning process. One would be the pre-arrest program and referral network, and then we'd also have a social contact referral. And social contacts came about because what they were noticing in the LEAD program in the Seattle and King County area is that people were committing crimes to get into the program. And they were certainly not wanting to encourage people to commit crimes to participate. So they wanted to have an alternative way for people to be referred, maybe without having to engage with law enforcement in committing crimes. So the way that the social contact referrals would work is that a police officer could engage with somebody in the community who would maybe typically fall into this catchment group, and then they could refer them via warm handoff to a case manager who would then go ahead and engage the client in whatever services are appropriate for them given their needs. The warm handoff is really important because we want to make sure that there is a clear understanding in our community of moving from arrestment and punishment to care and support. And that's one of the premises of the program that we're developing. So we want to make sure that they see the officers engaging in that as well as our case managers. If an officer believes that that person might be more receptive to an appointment, they can certainly schedule one, but our history and our work with people in the community shows us that most of the time, again, people in this catchment group tend to be those who have a hard time getting to appointments and maintaining a schedule because of various needs that they have that have not been met yet. They may not be housed, they may not be sober yet, they may have unmet mental health needs that are maybe getting in the way of them being able to sustain or get into care. So we will meet with them where they are. As another one of our priorities is to find ways to get out into the community and respond with law enforcement officers to serve people wherever they may be. And we're working on processes and procedures to be able to do that. As you can imagine, with a program of this scope, working on pre-arrest diversion and our local law and justice systems, we have a lot to consider. There's a lot of planning that goes into this, and we want to make sure that when we're doing a pre-arrest diversion or a social contact, that our primary interest of public safety and public well-being is always at the front of whatever we're doing. So that'll be a priority for us as we move through the process. Let's see, some challenges that we're currently looking at in our policy work group are what divertible offenses do we want to divert as one of our questions, and we're getting a little closer to defining those things right now. We're also working on how to balance public safety in alignment with harm reduction and trauma-informed care. That'll be something that we'll have to really iron out in this policy work group as well. How the cases will be managed in the court system and how all these parts will continue to communicate and work together. And another question that we've been really struggling with and working through is what happens to the victims of crimes as they've been committed, and victims need either some accountability or restitution possibly for the offenses that have been committed against them. So a lot of things go into this type of a program. We have a really engaged stakeholder policy work group, and I just wanted to take a moment to let you know who's involved in that process as well. We have representation from LEAD, the Law Enforcement Assisted Diversion Program, WASPEC, the Washington State Sheriff and Police Chiefs Association, attending those meetings, our Walla Walla County Jail, Walla Walla Police Department, Walla Walla Sheriff's Office, Chief Tamaros from the College Place Police Department is attending those meetings. We have representation from prosecutors from the City of Walla Walla, the County of Walla Walla, and from the City of College Place. Thank you, Ree. We also have representation on that committee from Providence St. Mary Population Health Department, the Developmental Disabilities Administration in our region, Blue Mountain Heart to Heart, and of course, Comprehensive Health Care. So that's our stakeholder work group. That's kind of where we are. We are still building a very large program and hoping to be able to implement sometime in January is our target date. So any questions from council members that I can answer for you?
Councilmember Cleveland.
Hopefully you can hear me. So as I'm understanding this is a program meant to engage people who are at risk of, say, jail incarceration due to committing relatively petty crimes or maybe at risk for that, and jail incarceration, and trying to engage with them in mental health treatment and like case management. Am I following so far, or am I a little bit confused here and there?
Yeah, and again, case management or mental health services as they're ready. So they may not be quite ready to engage in mental health treatment, but we want to work them in that direction and help them down that pathway. So yeah, that would be the goal. Some sort of treatment services, maybe it is housing, they might need to get back to work. Whatever the needs are, we'll be working with them to address those through case management services.
Thank you.
Do we have any other questions for Ms. Myers? All right, we do not, Ms. Myers. Thank you Councilmember Cleveland would like another minute.
Yeah, I guess also I'm just, you were saying that a lot of the referrals are coming kind of, you said through social contacts, and also kind of sounds like somewhere in the justice system, maybe after they've met with a judge or been arrested or something like that. Do you have any more details on that process that you could tell us?
Yeah, so we have a couple of pathways. Primarily, they'll be identified through our law enforcement officers who are out in the community every day interfacing with these individuals. They have a lot of contact and they know who out there might benefit from these services, and they interface with them pretty regularly. So they'll be a primary means of referral. And that could be, like I said, it could be a social contact where somebody hasn't yet committed a crime, but the officer knows that person and knows that they could be heading down that pathway. And that would give them an option to then say, hey, so there's this AJA program, there's this case manager. I think they'd be kind of helpful to you, maybe help you get on a better path. Let's get you referred. You can talk to them and see what they can do for you. Or if they've actually committed a crime, something like a nonviolent offense, a misdemeanor, like I said, we're still kind of working on those details, but something along those lines, then the officer could issue a citation that's deferred through prosecution. And then that individual would go through the pre-arrest diversion process where they wouldn't actually be considered arrested or in custody, but that citation would go through prosecution, be deferred, and then go through a different system. We're still working on the details of how all those will move through the different entities. It seems like the prosecutor's offices want to keep everything on a very similar pathway and not have 3 separate pathways for county and city jurisdictions, but we may have some different considerations depending on the offense. What we plan on doing is having a multidisciplinary team made up of prosecutors, law enforcement officers, and the case managers meeting bi-weekly to staff these cases and make sure that everybody's staying on track and on target.
So aside from kind of educating our officers, is there like kind of more support that you'd like from the city?
Well, yeah, actually, it would be just having the support of the council and knowing that the City of College Place is advocating for this level of programming is really helpful. So the advocacy and awareness is great. Supporting your chief and the great work that he's doing with his officers is always appreciated. Chief Tamaris does a great job of community outreach, and I commend him for all of his work on that. He does a really great job. And Ree's been great with just getting connected with us and helping us develop processes so that we can have a procedure that will work for the City of College Place in working with these diversions. Currently, like I said, we're still developing policies, and so we don't really have any stated needs. We do have the ability to compensate officers overtime wages for the training that we'll be rolling out, hopefully in December. So the City of College Place officers that participate shouldn't have any additional expenses. Those will be paid for through the grant.
Thanks, and I really like the program.
Okay, we have first Ms. Colwell would like to say a few words, and then Chief Tamaris.
Well, Regina covered a lot of what I was going to point out, but the biggest thing for me when I looked at this program and Regina educated me on it is that law enforcement officers will have a person on call that can come out and meet with them and the person in the community that they're interacting with. And I get those phone calls where law enforcement says, here's what's happening. There is a crime, but I really don't want to arrest this person and take them in. And it's not enough for crisis response to come in and take that person into custody. And so this just makes my heart so happy. That's it.
Chief Tamaris.
Yeah, I want to echo what Ree said, and we absolutely endorse this program. We don't know how many people, what the numbers are going to look like yet, but we do know it's going to be better than what we're doing right now. So we do know of individuals in our community that would definitely benefit from this. So we're pretty excited about it. And the other thing to just mention is there is leverage if we need it. Ree always has the opportunity to prosecute individuals if they follow the program or just resist or continue to commit crimes. So I think that this is a really good program. It's had a lot of success up in King County. And I think that we're not trying to reinvent the wheel by any means, but we're trying to make it fit for our community, which is different. So I'm really proud of what's happening. And I think it's a good thing for College Place.
Great, thank you. Councilmember Selby.
I'm happy to hear of this program. I think it's going to be great. I think it's something that we really need. I just recently found out about there's a 211.org that is designed to try and help people get connected with social and mental health services in their areas. Are you guys connected with them at all in terms of, sharing information or?
Is 211 the line for Washington Listens?
It's actually nationwide, I think. And I'm not sure if you can call it here, but you can get to the website from anywhere.
Well, I know that our agency is plugged into the Washington Listens phone lines, and that's certainly something that would be a referral source potentially for people in the service. I'm not as familiar with the 211, but I'll definitely research that and find out.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
All right, any last questions or comments? Okay, I don't see any. Thank you, Ms. Myers. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda is public hearings. However, there are no public hearings on the agenda tonight, so we're going to move on to action items. Let's see, first is the Permit Sherwood Trust Class of 2020 Leadership Group. And Mr. Rizzatello is going to present on that.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. I went over this item at the last City Council workshop. As you all may remember, there's a triangular piece of property on the south side of 12th Street, just west of Newgate, that the city owns. We acquired it from Cascade Natural Gas when they moved their regulating station down to the end of Larch. There's a Sherwood Trust leadership group that took this on as their main project. And what they did is they did a envisioning exercise, did some public outreach out at the farmers market. We ran this through the Park Arbor and Recreation Board. Actually, a couple of our Park Arbor and Rec Board members are actually on that leadership group. And we're at a juncture now where they want to construct this. So this is us getting permission from City Council to construct it. They've fundraised about $10,000 to match the $10,000 that we allocated in our fiscal year 2020 budget to construct it. So if council approves this, they will get working immediately. A couple of the members of their group are actually contractors where they're donating pro bono the labor and materials to do this. So just putting this before you for approval of this.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Rizzatello. We'll go through the council member for any questions or comments, and we'll start with Mr. Bobbitt.
No questions at this time. I like what I see.
All right, Mr. Cleveland.
Similar as Jerry. No
All right.
questions or comments, like what I see.
Mr. Peterson.
I'm pretty excited about this. After our CAT workshop, I drove by it the other day, and yeah, I tell you, this is pretty neat. Thanks for all your hard work on all of this, Mike and others.
Yep.
Absolutely. Ms. Nyhagen.
No questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Selby.
No questions. I think it's going to look great.
Ms. Sherman.
I don't have any questions, but I'm excited because I walk that sidewalk frequently. So I'm looking forward to a different view.
Absolutely. And Mr. Trope.
No questions. Thanks for this, though. Good thing.
Okay, great. You know, I look forward to seeing it done because so many times I've driven by there and I don't even look at it because it's almost like it's not even there. So it's going to be exciting to just see it pop out at you as you're driving down 12th Street. So very exciting. All right. So is there a motion for the permitting the Sherwood Trust Class of 2020 to start working on the park?
This is Council Member Bobbitt. I'd like to make a motion to approve resolution number 20-036, which permits the acceptance of parklet design by the Sherwood Leadership Group and permits them to construct it.
Okay, thank you, Council Member Sherman.
I will second.
Great, thank you. Or any other questions or comments, items for discussion? All right, let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? All right, the ayes have it. The motion is passed. Woo-hoo. I look forward to that. Okay, next item is the on-call engineering and surveying services. Also going to be presented by Mr. Rizzatello.
Thank you. So for this item, we were looking for various solutions to carry forward our engineering work since Robert Gordon passed away in August. We have put employment announcement out through NeoGov, GovJobs for an engineering manager. didn't really get any bites. And furthermore, upon evaluation of the workloads here at the city, it's become apparent that times are super busy and one person can't do it, and then there's other times where it drops off. We could more easily scale that if we had an engineering firm as the on-call engineer. Cities such as Deer Park, Liberty Lake, several of them actually utilize this option. So we put out a RSQ to see which firms would submit. We received 5 submittals. We had 6th graders rank the submittals, and the submittal it's recommended to contract with is with JUB Engineers. You can see their proposal in the records attached to this, but unlike a lot of the other firms where they had specialties, but then they were weak in certain areas, it was very apparent that they have subject matter experts in everything from development review to water, sewer, and everything in between. And we've worked with them satisfactory on a lot of our wastewater projects where they've done excellent work. So the recommendation is to essentially award this on-call engineer contract over to JUB. And I think that'll be a really good thing. It'll help facilitate when we have development review coming, being able to move that a little quicker because we've had log jams there. And then also assist with grants as needed and other things. This is a time and materials type contract, so there isn't like a base value we're paying them for. They send in the on-call services. They basically have in the contract, it just says essentially what the hourly markup value is for the said positions they have. And it's just a lot like anything else. Anything over that 15,000 for projects, I have to go to council to get approved for. This is just establishing them as on-call engineering. I think it will dramatically help us with workload issues and with a lot of the big projects on our horizon.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Rizzatello. We're going to go through the council members for questions or comments and start with Mr. Bobbitt.
No questions at this time.
Okay, Mr. Cleveland.
I probably missed this somewhere. I'm curious what the costs of having this engineering firm, I guess, on call and working on our projects compared to having a full-time employee would be.
I mean, I worked out some costs, which was harder because you have to look at from the hourly levels and also what they've charged for other work to the city, and it came out about even. Except that I believe we would have quicker turnaround because they're able to ramp up quicker. And then also keep in mind the fact that we did have that job announcement out and heavily advertised and no one applied for it. So.
Yeah. Do we have any performance metrics that we're going to be using to kind of compare, or just kind of the turnaround time for the projects?
I could take some turnaround metrics. It's actually in that Safe Built contract we had that helped with some of the development reviews, and I could utilize that to evaluate their performance. So that would be one way. Okay.
That and the budgetary, if it becomes particularly expensive, yeah.
Yeah.
How long is the contract for?
This is for a 4-year term unless they do something very unsatisfactory, in which we can terminate it at any time. So that's what it's for. It's a 4-year term, really, to get a firm that's willing to dedicate resources on on-call basis. This is very standard to have a 4-year term. That's what Deer Park, Umatilla, Oregon, and Liberty Lake all do, because I ran this past them because I was trying to look for different ways to attack this since no one applied for the position. And that's what all those cities recommended.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Peterson.
Yeah, this was reviewed thoroughly at our workshop. No questions. Thanks.
Ms. Nyhagen.
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Sherman?
I don't have questions. Do you want to go back to Ms. Selby?
Yep, I passed her. All right, Ms. Selby.
I actually do have a question. Who is going to basically be the person that oversees this contract and, you know, funnels the work to them and all that?
Yeah. So yeah, so as far as the person that is funneling the contract, that's really going to be under Paul's purview, because a lot of the permits and things like that come through Public Works and that side anyhow. So I would say a lot of your traditional engineering projects for infrastructure are going to fall on the outside, and then things where it's like combination, like the planning phase, but then also the development phase. Since John Rickard funds a lot of that through, he would help on that side.
Okay, that makes sense. I just want to I think it's going to be important that there's one point of contact as far as approving hours, because otherwise you can run out of your hours pretty quickly. And then secondly, if we're looking at comparing costs, this is just more of a comment. In the past, we have reached out and had contracts with other engineers to supplement our staff. So what we really should compare to is staff salary plus that.
Yeah. Okay.
Good point. Good point. Okay, Mr. Trope, any questions or comments?
And would like to, if I might, Mike, restate what I think we're doing here. With Robert's passing, obviously we need a contract engineering service, or we needed to replace him. But with Paul retiring, the goal would be to hire a replacement for Paul that would also be engineer certified, maybe fill that vacant head count at some point, because there are currently 2 heads.
Yeah.
Or there were 2 heads. Now there's 1 plus the contract. So this would enhance our city's capabilities by having, you know, although we're losing so much with Paul retiring, I know he's going to still be accessible, but for a period of time, he'll be here with a replacement that will hopefully have added capabilities that we don't have currently resident in that position. And it also makes it more attractive position for somebody coming in to pick up. Is that fair?
I believe that's a correct assessment. The goal when Paul retires is that position, the person will look for to take that position will have a professional engineer license, and it'll be a combination title-wise Public Works Director, City Engineer position. And then at that time, whoever occupies that position, I'll be leaning on them as far as if they believe this on-call contract is working successfully and we continue along those lines, or if we need to augment our staffing and then we use the on-call contract at a limited level. That's the concept really moving forward, because when you look at cities our size, most of this functions in that way.
Gotcha. Thank you.
All right. So please use the button to raise your hand if you have any additional questions or comments. All right. Otherwise, is there a motion? Councilmember Cleveland.
I will motion to adopt resolution number 20-037, which appoints JUB engineers as on-call engineer.
Great, thank you. Is there a second?
This is Councilmember Selby. I'll second.
Great, thank you.
I can't see it.
Any other additional questions or?
See a red button there, right?
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, seeing none, it's unanimous. The ayes have it and the motion is passed. Okay, next item is project funding prioritization, and Mr. Rizzatello is going to present that.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. So with this item, I mentioned this at the previous city council workshop when I went through this, but the state CARES grant, they provided money through the Federal CARES Act having to do with COVID that essentially was meant to fund things for businesses, for cities responding to the COVID situation, and pretty much everything in between. Originally, the first grant agreement was around 289,000 or so. However, we received basically this addendum in the mail that basically said that the state had leftover money, and utilizing the same formula, they were going to pass it around to the cities again, which added about another $144,975 plus. We had 20,000 left over from the first grant, which left the allocation of just north of 164,000. Staff had to quickly prioritize funds because this money actually goes away the end of November. So it was a very sudden addendum, but the money just like disappears at the end of November. So we went through an exercise trying to prioritize things as high, medium, and low. Low ones are not to be funded. Medium ones, if there was money left over, but the high ones are ones that we viewed as key. So I'll go through the following items. SMARSH is this software we need to essentially maintain metadata, which is like a public record for city issued cell phones. And it's really needed. We have that 5,000. It could be less, but that's what we think is at the current moment. Our program to provide tables and chairs for businesses has been very successful, where there's a request for more, including potentially some heaters and stuff as we are getting in the cold months. So this would allocate about 20,000 toward that endeavor. Digital reader boards. So that's like the mobile reader boards that typically Public Works will put out. The thing is that Public Works currently does not have one at all. Over the years, we've bummed that piece of equipment off of neighboring agencies. It becomes a challenge as they have their own projects, so sometimes it's not available. So this would get essentially a piece of that equipment. Also, some buildings to more easily enable social distancing and some prioritization of space. So out at the police department has a shooting range out at the wastewater treatment plant yard. And it's used regionally, but the problem is there isn't really a space where you can easily social distance for the classroom element of like the training for weapons and so forth. And Walla Walla School District, they're actually getting rid of these mobile classroom units. So we can actually move, they're willing to give one of those to us, but we have to move it out there and then hook it up to utilities. So I have that in there for 50. That's mainly just all of hooking up the utilities and moving it. But it's a good value. We're getting basically a free portable unit. That's impeccable timing. Pole building. Issue out of the Public Works yard is that, especially over the years as the crews increase because of storm utility, and then with these COVID restrictions in general, it's just really hard to social distance. And some of your buildings are like converted chicken coops out there at the Public Works yard. So we need some space out there. So I have in there a pole building. Paul's called around to folks that do this kind of stuff. So I have like 50,000 in there. Automated chest compression. Fire department has been wanting this for a while. So a machine does instead of a person getting up close. And we applied to FEMA for this, but they're taking forever and they keep asking for more information. So we would like to go ahead and get that. And then if FEMA comes through we can reallocate that portion of it, but we really need that. Computers, we need 3 of them at the Public Works Yard historically to maintain their utility certs. The staff has gone to in-person trainings with this COVID situation. Everything's been moved online, and they've only had 1 computer out there, and we have a large public works crew, so it's creating issues. So we need more computers out there. Diversion program, and Ree can talk more about this, but Ree's proposed a very interesting diversion program based on a lot of what's been happening due to COVID in the community. And it could be structured where it expands and over time in the future. And I was proposing that we used about $5,900 in COVID money, and then the remainder can be from savings of charging staff time to the COVID grant. And then the other thing is media package for videos. So camcorder, computer, and software. The issue there is that our police chief shoots excellent videos that we put on our YouTube channel and communicate with the community. However, what may not be known is that all these years he's been doing that, he's actually been doing that with his own personal equipment and then on his own computer. And for how often we do that, that isn't cool. So I have in here where is a proposal to finally get city equipment, so that way we can do that with our own equipment. So it balances out at $164,975. Keep in mind, this is external grant revenue from that state COVID grant. They just passed the addendum that said, here, you have extra money, but there's a strict timeline to spend it. So through this process, that's what we came up with, and I presented it at the workshop. The council members at the workshop seem supportive of it, so it's just going for approval so we can get going on this and get everything invoiced and out before that grant money expires.
All right, that being said, let's go through the council members for any questions or comments, and we'll start with Mr. Bobbitt.
No questions at this time.
Okay, Mr. Cleveland,
No questions.
Mr. Peterson,
No questions.
Ms. Nyhagen,
No, no questions. Thank you.
Ms. Selby.
I have a question about the diversion program. How is that different from or overlapping with or coordinating with the one that we heard about earlier today?
Ree, could you answer that?
I sure can. First, I'd like to apologize for the grammatical errors in my memo. It was very rushed. Basically, the difference would be this program would be geared towards individuals that enter the criminal justice system, and it's not due to mental health or substance abuse issue. It would be theft third. I think the example I used in my documentation was minor in possession. And really what I looked at is what happens when we go to court. And often I found we have 3 attorneys, the judge, myself, and the defense attorney, and we work a case, and it's to get that person, let's say it's an MIP. They go get an evaluation for treatment, and they recommend a 4-hour school. They go do that. They spend 12 months without committing any new crimes. We dismiss it. It costs a lot of money to do that. And so what I'd like to do, and the chief is on board as far as I can tell, is to catch those before they go into the criminal justice system, and give that person an opportunity to do the right thing and make the right decisions without having that expense. And I've just found that a lot of times in district court, the goals of the criminal justice system just aren't served. I think we would ultimately end up saving money. And if the program gets up and going, I would really like to get some volunteers to be involved in it, and perhaps some people that graduate from the program to in turn serve on the program. So it's really in its infancy, but the goal is to assist those people who are in a situation where hopefully we can get them to make the right decisions in the future. reach the same results. So hopefully that answered your question.
Yeah, it sounds like a great complement to the other program. And it also sounds like a great idea, both for the offenders and the community. So
yeah, and I find you probably all know that if there isn't an immediate impact for someone's actions, it gets lost, and it takes a good 3 months, 4 months before we get this person into court, if at all. So hopefully we'll get it going and have a good community outcome.
Great.
Thank you. Ms. Sherman? Okay, Mr. Trope?
No questions.
Okay. That, since we're there, do we have a motion? Councilmember Peterson.
I'd move to adopt resolution number 20-038, which certifies the prioritization for projects funded by the state's CARES COVID grant addendum given to the city in early September 2020.
Okay, great, thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Great, thank you. Any other discussion items, questions, comments? Great. Let's vote then. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. It's unanimous. The motion is passed. Thank you. Ms. Colwell, sorry. I was gonna call you Ree, but I wanted to be a little bit more professional of that. All right. Next item is the traffic box reps, and Mr. Rizzatello is going to share that.
Thank you. So this project is funded via a sponsorship from P1FCU. They have a new credit union inside Walmart in College Place. And we're following a similar project done in Pasco, Kennewick, Pullman, Spokane. A lot of people are doing this where instead of having the plain traffic boxes that are gray and in general ugly, you do a competition with local artists to essentially cover them in these wraps that you attach to the traffic boxes. So P1FCU is willing to sponsor 8 of these traffic wraps, as well as artist stipends of $350 a piece. So we did the call for projects because you all approved the general project concept. We received 9 submittals, and these would go along the traffic boxes near the traffic signals along College Avenue. And you can see attached the various artistic concepts, and these are from artists that are located either in Walla Walla, Columbia, or northern Umatilla County. So our general catchment area. What we did to grade the submittals is we actually convened a jurying committee. So that consisted of Matthew Pierce and then Brandon Halstead. They're members of Art Walla, and Professor Pierce works at the university. Leif Bissell and TJ Espinoza of our park board was on there. Mayor Hernandez was also a tiebreaker grader. And then Nadine Steckline, who's the chair of our diversity advisory board, was on the jurying committee as well. And then Jim Dumont also, who previously was a park board member before he moved out of town. So with that, you see the attached concepts. So this is just approving that you're good with us approving the general concepts, and then we'll get out artist contracts to these various artists. They'll be given around a month to do the final renderings because these were just initial concepts. And then we will go to the wrap manufacturer and get wraps done. And I would expect this project would likely be complete within the first quarter of 2021.
Okay, thank you. We're going to go through the council members for questions or comments, and Mr. Bobbitt.
Yes, some of those, that artwork is pretty
Beautiful.
impressive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Much appreciated all the hard work putting this together, Mike.
Yeah, thanks.
Absolutely. Mr. Cleveland.
No questions at this time.
All right, Mr. Peterson. Mr. Peterson, any questions or comments?
I'm sorry you broke up. No questions. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Okay, Ms. Nyhagen.
Thanks, Mike. The artwork is beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah.
Ms. Selby.
I was just talking to one of my students yesterday, and he has only been here for a couple of years and had no idea that he was like, can you imagine having to drive through 3-inch potholes on College Avenue? And I'm like, well, yeah, I've done it. And and so it just made me think today as I was driving around how both the council that was here before me and since Mike has been here, just how much better the whole town looks. It's just like, you know, it feels like we care about it now. And I just think it's really great. And I really appreciate all that.
Excellent, excellent. Ms. Sherman.
No other comments.
Okay, and Mr. Trope.
No questions or comments.
Okay, and I just want to second what Ms. Selby said. I do get a lot of compliments, which I feel bad because I tell them it wasn't me because I wasn't here yet, but of the improvements. They say it's a whole different city, so it makes me quite proud. All right, so if there's any other questions or comments, please raise your hand. All right, then let's go to the vote. Is there a motion?
This is Councilmember Selby. I would move approval.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, Mr. Trope, thank you. Any other discussion items? All right, let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, it's unanimous. The ayes have it. The motion is passed, and I am excited to see that artwork in our community. It's really going to light it up. All right, the last action item. I just want to make sure. Yeah, the last action item is a resolution to support Department of Natural Resources. And that's going to be by Mr. Rizzatello.
So this is just a approval of a resolution of support for a granting application. So one of the benefits of being a tree city is that we're able to apply for grant funds from State Department of Natural Resources. Right now, we are in the midst of spending down a $20,000 grant to do an urban forestry master plan, and then also locating trees along arterial rights of way, and then also city parks. That will be done by next spring. The issue is that that study isn't inclusive of all of the roadways, mainly because I was trying to get grant funding to cover the work. So this is like phase 2. So pretty much this would cover locating trees and then doing an urban forestry management plan for the remainder of the roads in College Place. And how I've worked the finances of both the grant we're spending down now, and then this one, if we do get it, if you do approve the resolution of support, is that basically the match is the time of our park board members. And then also we have an engineering intern that every summer they have GPSs stuff. So that's just becomes one of their projects. So that's the local match. And then we use the grant funds to hire a urban forestry consulting firm to actually develop the plan. This is one of the projects that's always been listed in the park board's work plan to actually have a designated way forward with our tree canopy. So this is just furthering that.
All right, thank you, Mike. Let's go through council members for questions or comments, starting with Mr. Bobbitt.
No questions at this time.
Okay, Mr. Cleveland,
No questions.
Mr. Peterson,
No questions.
Ms. Nyhagen,
No questions. Thank you.
Ms. Selby,
No questions.
Ms. Sherman,
No questions.
and Mr. Trope.
No questions.
All right. If you do come up with any questions, please use your hand, your little blue hand. Otherwise, we're going to go through, is there a motion? Okay, is there a motion? All right, Mr. Cleveland, thank you.
I'll motion to approve resolution number 20-040 in support of State of Washington Department of Natural Resources 2021 Community Forestry Assistance Grant Request.
Okay, thank you. And I think I saw Mr. Trope raise his hand.
Second it.
All right, thank you. Any other discussion items? All right, let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, it is unanimous. The ayes have it and the motion is passed. Thank you, everyone. So we're going to move on to administrative reports. Chief Tamaris is going to present a proposed amendment to the College Place Municipal Code.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. So currently amendment of 10-16-160, riding on sidewalks is what we're looking at. So right now you can legally ride your bicycle on a sidewalk in the city of College Place with the exception of our business district, which is College Avenue and Myra Road. So this ordinance was written in 1986 prior to, as you guys just recently mentioned, before some of the roadway improvements that we have. College Avenue has 10-foot sidewalks, and Myra Road is a very busy roadway, not a super safe road to be riding a bicycle on. I think we can all agree. So Mike has asked me to look into making some amendments, and what we're really just asking is leaving the ordinance pretty much in place with the exception of striking Amendment A, which is no person shall ride a bicycle upon a sidewalk in the business district. We're just asking to remove that part. So it'll say a person may ride a bicycle on a sidewalk or roadway unless restricted or prohibited by a traffic control device. And then also cyclists must yield to pedestrians on a sidewalk. So I think it would be a nice change to allow a little bit more bicycle friendly environment in those areas.
All right, let's go through the council for questions or comments. Mr. Bobbitt,
No questions right now.
Mr. Cleveland,
No questions. I like the idea. And as a lifelong resident, I've broken this law many times, apparently.
All right, looks like you're not alone in it. All right, Mr. Peterson.
Yeah, thank you. It's nice to not be riding dirty anymore. Thanks.
All right, Miss Nyhagen.
No questions, thank you.
All right, Miss Selby,
No questions.
Miss Sherman.
I thought I had a clean record, but I guess I just didn't get caught.
All the scofflaws on our council. Mr.
I
Trope.
mean, I was like 6, but still.
I'm in total support of this because I need those guys to comply with the law.
Yeah, there you go. All right. If there's any other questions or comments, please raise your hand. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Chief Tamaris. Looks like everyone's in favor of it. We're going to move to the next item where Mr. Rizzatello will present the public defender contract.
Okay, so as you know, this dates back a while now, but our public defender was seeking an increase just because of the marked increase in cases. The letter that's been provided here basically offers a couple of concepts here. Either 80,000 for a 400 case cap or 50,000 for a 250 case cap. Currently, from what I've witnessed, I believe the city is right up against near that 251. So that is some of the concepts here that she is providing. As far as benefits of each, I would like to turn that over to Ree to maybe expound on some of that.
Well, I'll what's the word I'm looking for? Caveats.
Yeah.
As the prosecutor, I can't select who the defense attorney is supposed to be, which is kind of intuitive, I think. In looking at their proposal, to me, it seems reasonable in my research as far as what other public defenders are getting compensation-wise. I will tell you that the Cortez Law Office, Rachel and Rebecca that I work with are just two of the best attorneys I've had to work with. They make my job much easier. They're efficient, they're effective, they're good attorneys. But we are seeing an increase in the caseload. We're a little bit hindered by our judges' decisions, and that's just the way it is. And part of the increase in the expense for public defenders spurred my request for this pre-charging diversion program. And the statistics show about 50% of selected cases that go through diversion, and I'm not recreating the wheel, are successful. And that would reduce the caseload so that the city can get ahead of the game. Because I think as our police department fills up all its positions and we continue to grow as a city, we're just going to increase that number. So hopefully with this recommendation by Mike on this contract, we can kind of get ourselves in a good position, providing the needed defense as well as making them happy for a little bit, and hopefully getting that caseload count to level out. Any other questions, or did I address it, Mike?
Yeah, you addressed it. So basically there's an option of the 80,000 for the 400 case cap or the 250 at the 50,000. I believe right now we are near the 250. So I mean, that could accommodate us. Brian, I don't know if you have that, but do you have, because we were discussing it a while back, basically, if we had to go with the conflict public defender, how many of those it would take to essentially equal it out. But yeah, that you can see the two concepts in front of you. Brian, do you have that by any chance, or maybe we'll get it next meeting? Or
And Mike, I'll jump in. I talked to Rachel and I said, you know, one of the options that we might have is draft the contract in such a way that the price can be adjusted as we look at the caseload counts, whether it's monthly or quarterly. And she was very receptive to that. I would prefer to have one firm dealing with all the cases versus splitting it up. But we can't always get what we want.
Right. And if I can just input here, Mike and I talked about there's a trade-off between the lower number of cases at 250 to 400 and potentially paying a higher rate. And there's a break-even point between the 250 and the 400, which you have to hedge, you have a risk to look at that you could hedge your bet and go with the lower amount and then pay the higher amount per case count up to the 400. And there's a bit of risk there that you could end up spending more money if you didn't go to the 400 level. But then again, if you didn't go much over 250, you would be financially better off. Then Mike and I talked about that, and I don't have the number of what that break even. I believe it was around 375 cases you would break even. So if you went at the lower amount of 250 cases and then bridge that with a higher rate for the additional cases. Does that make sense?
Yes.
I'm pulling up just some stats for through August. It looks like we have 206 cases. So if I can do my math correctly, fractions, we're looking at 309 cases if we stay on the path that we're on right now for this year. And I will say that where cities get into trouble is when it appears that they're underpaying their indigent defense attorneys. We've had cities get in big trouble for that, which doesn't make a lot of sense, but that's a whole nother discussion. But that's definitely increased. 309 is definitely an increase from last year.
All right, is there anything more, Mr. Rizzatello?
No, that encapsulates all of it. That's just communication I got from her. And then the most recent like court standards as far as like the loathing, which is driving that as well, the loathing factors. So I just want to make council aware of it and see what the general opinion was as far as, do we negotiate under the 250 case level at the 50,000 or the 400? So I was looking for a little bit of direction on that, but.
Okay, then we'll go through the council members to see if we have some feedback for you. And we'll start with Councilmember Bobbitt.
Hey, my question is, right now there is no cap, and they're requesting to put a cap on the number of cases. And let's say we had the cap of 250, and now we're projecting 309. Does that mean we have another fee we would pay for those additional cases if a cap was in place?
But yeah, so and the thing I want to make clear is there actually already is a cap in place, not of our own doing. It's actually a state RCW that came into effect after this contract was already adopted. So that's why we're in a bit of a pickle at the moment, because the playing field has changed in essence. So the state loathing factor is 400 cases. That's the ceiling now. So regardless, that's where you're at, and that's the reason why they're requesting basically increases in funding, because otherwise, if you keep our contract as is, that in essence means they can't have another contract, and then that gets into that whole impairment issue that Ree was speaking to as far as compensation. So I mean, really, the decision factor is really about hedging the bet about do we think about the 250 cases, or do we go to the 400? So.
Yes. Okay, I'll think on that, and if I have another question, I'll raise my hand.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Councilmember Cleveland.
I'm not sure that I could make a call as to which one we should go with. I guess my thoughts are simply that I want to be fair to our defense attorney and to our citizens and our pocketbook. You know, we have to balance all those things, but I guess, you know, we do have a couple things coming down the line that should hopefully reduce the caseload. I guess those are just kind of some of my thoughts at this point. Let's just be fair.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Peterson.
Yeah, I echo really the two-part comments. It's really the pre-charge and diversion program. It's I think it was a comment earlier, it's going to be a wait and see as far as what impact, if any, that has. We hope there will be, but what was the life on this contract, Mike? Was it in other words, if we put this at the 4,500 and we find out that we've dropped it back down because of these other programs, are we able to adjust that? And I do believe their comments before was just the workload but
So,
Yeah,
so they've put in notice to terminate the contract under the contract. So we're kind of in a position where the slate is clean.
Yeah.
To renegotiate.
Yeah, I don't, it's a wait and see. I guess my question is if we go the higher rate, if we'll have the opportunity to back that off when we find out that we have a 200 case drop because of the charge and diversion program or something. I don't know, but yeah.
All right. Ms. Nyhagen?
No questions, thank you.
Okay, Ms. Selby?
No questions.
Ms. Sherman?
No questions.
Mr. Trope?
Seems to me I'd pay the lower rate, the 250 rate. The break even's at 370 or so. Risk is small. If it goes over that, you're going to pay very little. If it goes under that, you save some money.
And hope for the best. Yeah, I agree.
That's my 2 cents.
You'll make us do our job with the diversion.
Well, I think with the diversion, frankly, you just got to figure the dynamics of the area. You're going to see more cases. So,
yeah.
Right. And Mike, I believe this is just a 1-year contract.
Is that?
Yeah, we have the ability to renegotiate this. So in general, the general tenor of what I'm hearing then is I will negotiate with her for the 250 case cap at the 50,000 and then see where we go from there, basically.
I think that will be helpful, especially it allows us to see how any new programs affect the caseload.
Okay.
Great. Chief Damaris.
I was just going to say, keep in mind that due to COVID, our arrests are down this year. So, and we're still been busy. So I think it's only going to grow as the community grows.
Totally agree. Still think the lower rate's the place to start for next year.
We're at risk for 1 year then if we made a mistake. Yeah.
It's not a big risk.
Yeah.
I don't see it that way at all. I think it's a small, manageable risk. I'm surprised they came back with something so fair. My normal response would be, let's go negotiate the contract, but okay, that was good.
A while.
Well, I mean, she's trying to get herself together. It's been 6 months or whatever.
Right.
Finally came up with something substantive that made some sense. And, I could get behind either approach, but clearly the lower one's the one makes sense for us, I think.
Okay, great. Any other discussion items, questions, comments on what anybody said? All right, we have none. So thank you, Mr. Rizzatello and Ms. Colwell for your backup in there. Next item, Mr. Rizzatello is going to present on water conservation programs.
So I would say just continue to look at these options. I'm going to put together a program proposal for the November workshop, but I wanted to answer a question that was asked the last time I presented this, which was having to do with like what would be the water savings over a period of time if you implemented like some water conservation program and so crunching numbers from City of Moscow, Idaho, and then reducing it to the proportion of our population, which is about 38% of theirs over a 9-year planning period. They basically, when you factor it down for our population, it would save about 16.57 million gallons of water over 9 years. And then when you prorate that out year to year, it's 1.84 million gallons. So I just wanted to provide that number as far as gallons saved when you factor it down for our population. And I'll have some for a November workshop. I just didn't want to leave that hovering out in outer space. So that's the answer as far as the water saved.
All right, let's go through the council for any questions or comments. We're going to start with Mr. Bobbitt.
Not at this time.
Okay, Mr. Cleveland.
No questions, but thank you for continuing to look into ways to responsibly manage our natural resources.
Mr. Peterson,
No questions.
Councilmember Nijhagen,
No questions, thank you.
okay, Councilmember Selby,
No questions.
okay, Councilmember Sherman,
No questions.
right, and Councilmember Trope.
No questions.
All right, thank you, Mr. Rosatello. We have one more item to discuss, and it's regarding the November workshop. And Ms. Niso is going to present this discussion item.
Hi, so it has come to our attention that the regularly scheduled November workshop would be on election night. And I know in the past that has not been a favorable night to have a council meeting on. So we've got a few options. We can either leave the meeting at its regularly scheduled time and meet at 5:30 on Tuesday, November 3rd, election night. We could bump it to the following night, Wednesday, if people are available at that time. We don't have any conflicting meetings at the city. We could decide to start the November 10th regular meeting an hour early and have a work session in advance of that. So that would be November 10th at 6 o'clock. Or you can cancel the workshop altogether and just address any items at the regular meeting, which may make a longer meeting. So basically, it's kind of up to you guys. If you're going to make a change, then we will need to do action on it. So I kind of wanted to discuss it with you guys and get kind of where you want to go. And then if we need to take an action, we'll do that at the 27th meeting this month.
All right, thank you, Ms. Nysel. So let's go through the council for discussion. Mr. Bobbitt,
Boy, some of those dates don't work for me in times. We definitely don't want to do it on election night.
No,
And
cancel it.
I don't know. We're going to think on it.
okay. Mr. Cleveland,
I don't have any particularly strong feelings about it. I wouldn't be opposed to canceling it if, that's kind of the direction we're going. I guess I'd lean towards that or just moving it one day past to Wednesday.
okay, thank you. Mr. Peterson,
Yeah, I'll go along with it, whatever the group wants. Thanks.
Ms. Nijhagen,
I'd rather it not be on election night. That's a big night for everybody. Wednesday night's tough for me because it's a church night, but I would think that if we could cancel it, that would be all right with me.
okay, thank you. Ms. Selby,
I'm probably more on the side of cancel it. I mean, I don't think we're going to have a result on election night, but I don't think any of us are going to be able to concentrate.
no truer words. All right, Ms. Sherman,
Yeah, I'm the same as Melody. If we need to have anything extra, I'd be okay starting at 6 or 6:30 on the 10th if needed. But otherwise, canceling it is fine.
okay, and Mr. Trope,
I think canceling makes sense.
okay. All right, there you go, Ms. Nysel. Hope we answered your question Mr. Bobbitt has a discussion item.
I lean towards canceling also.
All right. All right, Lisa, I think you have your answer.
I do. Can I suggest that if it looks like we are going to have an excessively long meeting, that maybe we start at 6:30 instead of 7?
Yes.
On the 10th? Okay. Okay. So it'll just depend on what we've got ready to go as far as budget discussions. Thank
All
you
right.
very much.
Thank you for reminding us, giving us time to think about it and prepare for it. Okay, next item on the agenda is there's informational reports. There's the draft capital facility, equipment replacement, and IT plans are in the packet for your review on your own time. Now, finally, is there any other business for the good of the order?
Mayor, something that occurred to me that might help you guys that supports your decision in regards to the indigent defense contract. And when I said we had 300 cases, I didn't add in that we do have conflict cases that don't go to our contract. We have private attorneys that are hired, and we also have people that represent themselves. So we should be okay on that 250, hopefully.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Colwell. And Mr. Peterson.
Different subject. I really do not want to discuss this right now. I just wanted to throw it out there. Was there a resolution on the urban growth area and discussion of the land south of 125? Did I miss that meeting, or is that still pending, or what's, is that something we'll be updated on, or did I miss that meeting?
We talked about that a long time ago. Pretty much what ended up happening, unfortunately, is that we went before that growth appeals board, and then they ended up essentially denying our petition, mainly because one of the issues on both, not only the city side, but the county side, is the Growth Management Appeals Board really wanted to see a more formalized commercial lands inventory. We do a residential one, and so is the county, but the county never did the commercial lands one, and because no one did it, it basically shot both parties in the foot. So that was that's in a nutshell the resolution of what happened.
And I'll just add on, we asked the question that the board was asking of our consultant, and we really didn't get an answer. We didn't get an answer. So when we move forward with the next round, we definitely know what needs to be done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good question. Okay, any others?
I move we adjourn.
All right, we have a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, then if there's no objection, the meeting is adjourned at 8:27 p.m. All right, thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Stay safe.